Welcome back. We are talking to the esteemed Dr. Sherice Janaye again on ARC Republic News. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you for always having me.
You know, it is always a hoot. We were laughing in the pre-show because we both told our husbands what we were about to do, and they were like, "Oh boy, here we go. Let's leave the area and see you in 8 hours," right? Because we have a lot to talk about when we come together. I think what we say as critical substance in the conversation, which leads to, I think it's really important to have Black women's perspective in the political sphere, because oftentimes it's missed, and Black women's perspective who is not situated or centered in the bipartisan politics of the matter. So, thank you so much for providing this perspective. But we're going to probably go partisan with Representative Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett out of
Gave her the business.
Okay. So for those of you who are unaware, this happened within this past week. I was coming home from DC and I was like, what is going on? And some of the people I was with actually either were scheduled to go to Representative Crockett's office or didn't make it. So I thought that this was very interesting. Well, recently there was a Republican-led House committee to vote on a resolution holding Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress for refusing to release audio recordings from classified documents in a case against President Biden. Well, in that meeting, shit went crazy. It went very crazy, and perhaps in a good way. So Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has created the persona of being of somebody who uses these how do I want to say it? These spectacle or these fantastical quotes and positions woven into theatrics and drama in order to state a position or positions that are very right, but also she does it in a way that's very offensive too. But she came up on the wrong one on the right day at the exact hour. And that is Representative Jasmine Crockett. So we're going to cue this up and we're going to show it right now.
Everybody's schedule into chaos today and the building's closed to the public. Why was that done?
Okay, that's not an appropriate inquiry.
The time of the meeting is not an appropriate procedural inquiry?
Your inquiry is not an appropriate parliamentary inquiry. So let's get back to order. Recognize myself for opening statement. Today's markup initiates contempt of Congress proceedings against U.S. Attorney Merrick Garland for defying a subpoena from the Oversight Committee. The committee's February subpoena required the Department of Justice to produce audio recordings of President Biden's interview with the special counsel investigating his mishandling and improper disclosure of classified materials. The department has chosen not to produce them. That's why we're here today. This is not a complicated subject. The Oversight Committee requires these audio recordings, and the Department of Justice has refused to provide them. What are Democrats on this committee who oppose the release of these audio recordings afraid of? The recordings will just be President Biden speaking. What is it that would make them nervous about that? It's because they know, once again, President Biden has not been honest. He hasn't been honest about his family's foreign entanglements. He hasn't been honest about mishandling classified documents. And if the Democrats were honest, they'd admit President Biden's mental capacity is declining. Americans see it happening every day. In fact, 6 in 10 Americans don't have confidence in Joe Biden's mental capacity. If the Attorney General wants to defy Congress and not produce the audio recordings, he will face consequences for those actions. The path before us is clear. I urge this committee to move forward with holding Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt. I now recognize the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, in this special nighttime episode we resume the madcap comedy mystery series called Comer's High Crimes and Misadventures, the hilarious quest to impeach a president who has done nothing wrong, an avowedly low-budget but multi-million-dollar taxpayer-funded production which most Americans assumed had ended 2 months ago and had completely forgotten about. But tonight, with the cast and crew now fresh back from a surprise
You mean
trip
like
to
the
New York
January
City,
6th committee?
Stop it.
I'd like my time restored to me, Mr. Chairman.
Order, order. Chair recognizes ranking member.
Okay.
Order. Order, order.
Well, tonight with the cast and crew fresh back from their surprise trip to New York City, it's clear the show must go on. Now, our originally scheduled performance was supposed to be at 11 a.m. today, but it was postponed when members of the majority chose to join a mass spiritual pilgrimage to the New York criminal trial of a Florida man, an adjudicated fraudster and rapist, as he faces 34 felony counts of falsifying corporate financial records to cover up $130,000 paid in hush money to a porn star sex partner. Now, although some people are churlishly complaining that members should actually be here to vote on public business and should not have forced a last-minute change in the committee schedule, our colleagues properly demonstrated for all of history their fierce devotion to this clearly reformed, devout, and pious Florida spiritual leader who many supporters are now calling the Messiah from Mar-a-Lago. Of course, in the meantime, Chairman Jordan in the House Judiciary
Will
Committee
the gentleman yield?
preempted. No, I'm in the middle
Sir,
of my
I appreciate that
introduction.
photo. It's a good photo.
Yeah.
I would like a copy of that. Done with it.
Would you like a signed one, Raskin?
Yes,
Could
I
you
wanna-
get your members in order, Mr. Chairman?
It's a great
Order,
photo. I want a copy
order,
of it.
order.
Mr. Chairman.
in the meantime, Chairman Jordan in the House Judiciary Committee preempted our GOP colleagues on oversight, rendering this entire exercise not only absurd, but completely meaningless and redundant. Anyone watching can grasp the fallacy cleverly tucked into this new special primetime episode. There is nothing relevant or material that our committee can learn from an audio tape, which we cannot learn from the 250 pages of the transcript. The format of the medium does not change the content of the communications. So, in this absurd twist, our friends now seek to blame the spectacular belly flop of their own impeachment probe on Attorney General Garland and his sneaky effort to obstruct the investigation by cooperating with it. We know what real obstruction looks like because the last president specialized in it. This president agreed to sit down for a voluntary 5-hour interview with the special counsel investigating him. Attorney General Garland turned over the complete 250-page transcript interview. That's not obstruction. Real obstruction was Trump and his administration refusing to provide information Congress requested in more than 100 different congressional investigations and inquiries. And I know that pleases the gentlelady from Georgia because he issued...
I just want to hear Joe Biden. Why can't the American people hear him?
Order, Mr. Chairman. Get her under control.
President Trump issued an edict. No, I am glad that the gentlelady from Georgia is learning something tonight. Okay, the president. I encourage her to be a good listener, and she's been a good listener. So,
Time's expired. Does any other member seek recognition?
Mr.
Chair
Chairman,
recognizes Ms. Green.
I'd like to know if any of the Democrats on this committee are employing Judge Merchan's daughter.
Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Oh, Goldman. That's right. He's advising. Okay.
He's advising who? What? Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about AG.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about. I guess
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath
would
even
you
your
please
history.
regain
That's
order
beneath
of your
you.
committee?
Order.
Please.
There's a point of order.
We have a point of order. Mr. Lynch, state your point.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to ask the parliamentarian if your conduct here in raising money in connection with this hearing is referring to the Ethics Committee within this hearing. Is a motion in order to refer your conduct and your abuse of
It's not a
process.
point of order. not a
Mr.
point
I
of
do
order.
have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Greene's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you
meeting will
attack the
suspend.
physical
Meeting will
appearance of another
suspend.
person?
Are your
Move
feelings hurt?
her words down.
Aw.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play. with
Baby
me.
girl? I don't
We
think
are going to
so.
move, and we're going to take your words down.
I
Thank you very
second that motion.
So who will have to pay? The committee will reconvene. Miss Greene has 4 minutes and 21 seconds. There's a motion. Ms. Greene, do you wish to strike your words?
I have 4 minutes and 21 seconds to speak.
I think we have to do the motion first, and then unless there's another motion, then you'll be recognized again. But I believe there's another motion coming. So, will you agree to strike your words?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
agree.
Ms. Greene agrees to strike her words.
I believe she
Chair
needs to
recognizes
apologize. No. She needs
Perry.
to
Okay,
apologize.
hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's going to be recognized, then Ms. Greene
I'm not
has 4 minutes and
apologizing.
21
Well,
seconds.
then
Okay,
you're not
reserve the right to
striking your
object.
words.
I am
Mr.
not
Perry.
apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the
it's
minority.
pretty
No,
self-evident.
Chair you're not.
Yeah, you're
out
not-
of order.
you don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry.
Okay, move to strike
I'd like to
I
strike
move to
those
strike the
words
lady's
as well.
words.
I would like to strike
Strike the
those
lady's
as well.
words again.
That's 2 requests to strike. That's 2 requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the
There's
words.
another motion to strike her words again. Please
All right.
get
Okay.
your members under
Here's
control.
the correct parliamentary. Ms. Greene, do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll strike
right.
my words,
That-
but I'm not
all right.
apologizing.
Without objection. Without
Not
objection.
apologizing.
Chair
Reserving the right to
recognize-
object.
No.
Chairman, I
Chair
reserve the right to
recognizes
object.
Mr.
I
Perry.
reserve the right to
Mr.
object.
Chairman, I move that Mr. Goldman's words and Ms. Ocasio-Cortez's words be stricken.
Okay.
Which words? And you have to do it contemporaneously. Object. The objection must be contemporaneous, and they haven't spoken in 10 minutes.
Nobody's spoken and said in 10 minutes.
Well, that's right. Therefore, defeating your proposal.
You all have. So that's my motion, Mr. Chairman.
We weren't able to.
But I object. It doesn't refer to anything that's on the floor. Ms. Ocasio-Cortez objected immediately and instantaneously, as you're supposed to do under the rules and precedents of the House of Representatives.
So the first time he could
Mr.
move to
Chairman,
strike.
point of,
Let's
Mr.
suspend.
Chairman, point of parliamentary inquiry.
All right, we're going to suspend for a minute, but we'll talk to the parliamentary. Okay, committee will come back to order. So, Ms. Greene asked unanimous consent to strike her words. Mr. Raskin objected. I'm going to recognize Mr. Raskin for his objection. We're not counting against Ms. Greene has 4 minutes and 21 seconds left. This will not count against her time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I reserve the right to object because the understanding of the minority is that the gentlelady from Georgia would move to take her words down and strike her words and to offer a sincere apology for having engaged in personalities against another member, offending her personal appearance and insulting her. We don't do that in this committee. And I think the major problem was that we allowed pornography in this committee, and we've gone down a bad road. But in any event, we should not allow face-to-face ad hominem insults. It's totally contrary to the rules of the House of Representatives. And I would ask Ms. Greene if she would just make the apology. It's not that complicated. We don't want to get into face-to-face insults.
You will never get an apology out of me. I
Then
don't
I-
owe
then
you
I
one.
object. Then I
All right.
object, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Raskins objects. So the member will state the words he wishes taken down or she wishes taken down.
Well, what I heard her say, but I would like her to repeat the words. What I heard her to say was, and you can take off your fake eyelashes too. Well, then what did you say?
I mean,
What did you say, Ms. Greene?
really?
What was?
I mean,
The clerk needs to report the words, but those.
Okay, the
That
clerk-
was the sum and
the
substance.
clerk will report the words. Clerk will report the words.
Mr. Chairman,
We could subpoena the audio tape, Mr. Chairman.
This is great. Release the audio.
It will just take us a few minutes to get
Okay.
those words.
We'll suspend.
Aren't we here for audio?
Chairman.
I'd like Joe Biden's audio.
Clerk, back to order. The clerk will report. The stenographer.
Mr. Chairman, there was a lot of over talking, but as far as we can make out, and you can remove your false eyelashes too.
Okay.
Well, let's have a vote on that, because I honestly don't think there's a member in this committee who would think we should descend to that level of discourse here, other than one, perhaps. I'm sorry? You agree it should be taken down, Mr. Dons?
Mr. Raskin, the gentlelady from Georgia already said that she would strike down her words. What else are we doing past that point? I didn't realize apologies were a matter of...
It's an agreement.
No, the suggestion was made to the minority that rather than go through the process of formally taking her words down, which means she wouldn't be able to speak for the rest of our hearing, as you know, that she could continue to speak, but she would voluntarily take her words down and offer a sincere apology.
I'm going to overrule the point of order. It wasn't personalities. It was undecorous. And I would encourage, again, every member to abide by committee decorum, and let's vote. We all know what we're here for. You're either going to vote for it or against it. And the lady from Georgia has 4 minutes and 21 seconds
Mr.
remaining.
Chairman, point of order.
I appealed the ruling of the chair, Mr. Chairman, because the rules provide that you cannot insult another member's personal appearance or attire. And that is obviously part of engaging in personalities.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Hold on. We have so many motions. We're sitting here trying to. All right, there's now a motion to table Mr. Raskin's motion.
No, but I was appealing your motion.
The motion by Mr. Perry, seconded by
I don't believe
Mr.
you can
Gosar.
table motion. I don't believe you can table. It's not eligible to table. It's not eligible to table.
We can table the appeal. We can table the appeal.
I don't know if we can table. Is
the
it
underlying
privilege to
motion.
strike?
We can table the appeal. There's a motion and second to table the appeal.
Okay, just to be clear, your ruling was that she had not engaged in personalities?
Mr. Chairman, when do I have my 4 minutes and 21 seconds?
I've already ruled.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Right, so
no, there's a motion to vote on. It's not debatable. Motion by Mr. Perry, seconded by Mr. Gosar to table. All those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no.
No.
Motion passes to table. Now,
move for the ayes and the nays.
Recognizes Ms. Green.
I want to move for the ayes. A recorded vote.
A recorded vote to table has been requested. The clerk will call the roll on table.
Amendments at the desk.
Mr. Jordan.
Have an amendment at the desk.
We're voting on a requested roll call vote on whether or not to table. She started the roll call with Mr. Jordan.
Mr. Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 21, the nays are 19, with one voting present.
All right, motion table. Now the chair recognizes Ms. Green for 4 minutes and 21 seconds.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Who's
It's me.
Ms. Crockett?
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Chairman, I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's
Hold
a
on.
part
I'm
of the.
trying to find clarification on what quality.
Chairman, motion to strike those
I had no idea
words.
what you just said.
We're not gonna do this. Look, you guys earlier literally just said
You just voted to do
Y'all did
it.
it first, so you don't want to talk about
voted to do it.
Order.
I'm trying to get clarification.
Look at calm down.
No, because this
I
is
would
what
like to
y'all
get
do.
through proceedings.
So I'm trying to get
Ms.
clarification.
Crockett, you're not
Y'all wanna
recognized.
play
Ms.
games.
Crockett.
I can't hear you with your
And
yelling.
You don't want
calm
me
down.
To be,
Can
no,
you please calm down?
Don't tell me to calm down.
Calm down.
Because y'all talk
Please calm
noise,
down.
and then you
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if I
Look,
come,
Chairman,
if I
can
come
we
and
send
talk
outside to
shit
take a
about
break
her,
for 5
y'all
minutes?
gonna have a problem.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, Chair. Chair,
I don't know why
okay.
you're
Order.
acting
Chair
like
now
that.
recognizes
Not cute.
Ms. Greene for 4 minutes and 21 seconds. 4 minutes. Let Ms. Greene talk, and then you all can. I'll recognize.
But I
on
move
this
to
side.
strike her words for a second time based on her second set of personal remarks attacking another member.
Who?
Chairman Comer.
Because you all cannot
I have an
seem
amendment at
to
the desk,
apply
and this
the rules
sideshow
of the
needs to
committee.
stop.
We have to do this every time.
Hey, I'm
Listen,
recognized.
listen,
I'm recognized.
order.
I'm going to
Listen,
go ahead and start talking.
Look, I know. Look, I don't know if you've noticed it. I have 2 hearing aids. I'm very deaf. I'm not understanding. Everybody's yelling. I'm doing the best I can. Can we not recognize Ms. Greene and let her
We
get?
cannot because of the rules of the committee, Mr. Chair. That is what I'm trying to communicate in the present moment.
We have a Okay, what's the motion? What's
The motion is to strike the gentlelady's words for the second set of remarks, not the first, the second that apply to me.
She has no idea. I think, Mr. Chairman, I'm the only one recognized right now.
We objected at the time.
Will the member state the words she wishes
Yes.
struck?
She told me, or she asserted that I was not intelligent. These are the specific words. We can have it read by the clerk.
It was made immediately.
And it was made immediately. I am not moving now.
I don't think it was
I am not
timely.
moving
It was
now.
made immediately, both by the gentlelady and by me.
Mr.
Guys,
Chair,
look.
it was made immediately.
It was made
and
immediately,
you said
both by
that
the
you would
gentlelady and by
return
me.
to us.
Guys,
She said, "You don't have the intelligence to talk to me," is what she said.
Dr. Sherice Janaye, your thoughts, please.
Well, first off, I'll deal with the shenanigans, but let me back up for a moment. Let's remember who Merrick Garland is. Okay, let's remember that Merrick Garland is a judge. What was a judge that the Obama administration put up to then be on the Supreme Court, and that Republicans, who was a centrist, who's seen as a centrist, but put him up far before the end of his 8 years, his second term of 4 years. If I remember correctly, it was about a year. They waited an entire year to not give him a hearing to then call a vote on Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland is a centrist for the most part, ideologically. He was not seen to lean one way, to lean right or left. He was seen as more of a centrist. Merrick Garland became famous or is well known really for his adjudication of the Texas bombing of Timothy McVeigh. Okay, I'm sorry, not Texas, Oklahoma. So we in the political space know Merrick Garland as a no-nonsense, kind of straight down the line, nonpartisan in many ways type of judge. So let's remember first who we're talking about. Let's also deal with the fact that Marjorie Taylor didn't know who the hell they was in the meeting room, in the committee to even be talking about. Okay? That Jasmine had to remind her why they were even there. Let's also deal with the fact that when white folks can't outfox you, they just insult you. Once they
and also what Representative Crockett explained is that the meeting was scheduled for 11 a.m. in the morning, but there were some folk who wanted to go to the Trump trial in New York. So
yes, not go to it. They wanted to go support. They want not just go to it. They want to go to support and rally for him. So then the chairman of that committee then moved the hearing later in the day to give those members time to come from New York back to Washington, D.C. to participate in this hearing. A hearing for all intents and purposes is a farce to begin with. Because remember, we have to think about this, that this same committee tried to then impeach Mayorkas, who is who leads the I call it DHMS all the time, Homeland Security, right? So we're talking about a group of
Okay.
Yes, that's what we call it. That's what that's what us political heads call it. We don't call it DHS. We call it DH mess. You take 13 independent organizations, put them into one, and it becomes a mess, right? But that's another story for another day. And that's how I always remember it, and I always forget to call it the right thing. But the Department of Homeland Security, which was established in the Bush administration after 9/11, right? You try to then get Mayorkas, you try to impeach Mayorkas on some fanciful foolishness. The same way here with Merrick Garland, you're trying to hold him in contempt on some fanciful foolishness. The transcript that you guys are asking for, the material that you're asking for has already been made available to you. What Merrick Garland will not release is the tapes. And he has made it very clear as to why he won't release the tapes, because he does not want the tapes to be then used in campaign ads for either side for it to be used. You have the transcripts. You know everything that was said. The information has become declassified. There is nothing in there that you do not know. So all of this is political theater. So let's start there. And because it was political theater, Jasmine Crockett showed us why she was the superior opponent in political theater. And here is why. Marjorie Taylor Greene used her time to then try to defame and embarrass a Black woman. And what Jasmine Crockett did was she used the rules against her in the insult that she packaged into an inquiry. Why did she do that? Because in that she was showing Marjorie Greene Taylor and all the other Marjorie Greene Taylors of the world, not only am I not smart enough to answer you because of my eyelashes, I'm also smarter than you because I understand how to properly place an insult inside of the rules that then govern this body. And that is why it was so for me, because what it showed for me was not only am I smart enough to then jab you back, I'm smart enough to jab you back inside of the rules that are delineated inside of how we are supposed to then proceed in a hearing of this manner, which is all political theater to begin with.
Yeah, and did it in a way, and I hope this Representative Taylor Greene knows that she's been put on notice. Representative Crockett is going to be on that ass from 5 a.m. to 5 a.m. from now on. But I think it's, when I'm sorry, I'm still laughing because I've seen the clip, multiple times. Do you remember several years ago when you, Dame, our other correspondent, one of Dame's criticisms, and maybe perhaps you might have said this, is that the Democrats try to present themselves as this very moral, kind of like stoic martyrs, and the Republicans go ham. They go crazy when they have to. And what it does is that it presents the Democrats as being weak. And so what Jasmine Crockett, brings, I think that fire, that personality that uses her position in order to properly respond to these type of Republican personalities that we have yet to see. I mean, we have, Representative Maxine Waters, but the way that Jasmine Crockett goes hard presents a whole new Democrat. This is not our mama's Democrat at all.
No. She's a millennial, right? She was born in 81, right? She's a millennial, and I already knew it was on when she leaned in and then swooped that hair like this. I knew it was over there. When she leaned in like this and swooped that hair, I knew it was over. I knew at that moment it was.
It went into that mic like
and
it
leaned
was
into
like
that.
Like she was like, we about to battle. You Drake, and I'm about to be K-Dot. Okay, so
let's talk even about her maturation to this spot, right? She was preceded by Eddie Bernice Johnson. I want to make sure that I get her name right. And Eddie Bernice Johnson was, in many ways, was a phenomenal woman, that was in many ways the first in many ways, was a nurse, had a whole career as a nurse, then came to the legislature, and really in many ways left her seat but before passing away sadly a year later, but left her seat in enough time for a Jasmine to then fill that seat, and for her to in many ways groom her and to teach her about these things. So in many ways Jasmine came in with a running start. Right, Jasmine came in with a running start about knowing the rules, knowing the coonery and the foolery that white folks will chart, that they will chart out. Being a very vocal new member of the Congressional Black Caucus, right, by saying that that legacy Black Caucus, that was nice, but we the new kind. Right, and as the new kind, we are coming for you. Jasmine Crockett has made her debut on this committee by saying a lot of pejorative things that people are being very obvious in her disdain or in her disdain of how the Republicans operate, right? And there have been some that have quietly dissented against that, or have been very unpleased with how she has presented. But what we now know is that, and what I think that we will see is that we're going to see more of the younger Congressional Black Caucus members leaning in, right, to this type of rebuke against the Republican Party. I also think that what I also think that is very poignant here, and this is something I want to give credit to Hakeem Jeffries for, is that he has basically remained silent on this matter. He is not he's the leader of the Democratic caucus. He's a respected member of the Congressional Black Caucus, but he has been fairly silent on this issue. When asked about it, he's repositioned the question. And I think that's important to point out here, Kaia, for two reasons. Number one, it's important to point out because we do not often cheer Black men when they, in essence, support Black women. And his non-response has in many ways been a support of her, because it hasn't been an open rebuke. By being the leader of the Democratic Party inside of the Congress, for that matter, inside of the House, he, when asked about her behavior, he has conveniently, right, redirected the question every time he's been asked. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons it's important. Number two, I think it's important, the fact that Hakeem Jeffries hasn't been so vocal about his acceptance or rejection of that level of political theater, is it then means that other younger Democrats, regardless of their color, have the ability to lean into that political theater without then being without the trepidation of the party's hand, the party line slapping their hand for that type of behavior. Whereas on the Republican side, that type of behavior is encouraged. It is fostered, it is clapped for, it is all these things. And I think this is a good example of the leader of the Democratic Party saying, I'm not taking sides, and I am not going to give the media any red meat. I am going to turn it back to the issues every time I'm asked. And although some may have wanted him to be more forceful in protecting her, I believe he has done a great job in striking the right tone about letting what she has said take a life of its own and live and maturate the way it's going to maturate.
Yeah, I think Jeffrey's silence also, in my opinion, is kind of like a smell test, like being silent to read the room and see what the public response is. I think, and as well, me working on the Hill before, right? And you being on the Hill, there's a lot of conversations that are going on behind doors, because as you said, the texture of the Democratic Party is changing. And a lot of these people in the old guard are not ready for it. They might want it, and they probably said it, but they didn't expect it to be presented this way. So I think that
not with fake eyelashes, a beautiful lace front, 3-inch nails done to the nine. No, they were not expecting it to be Black, and not to be Black, but blackety
Black.
Right? If you look up Jasmine Crockett, her official photo, she is wearing braids, right? She is unapologetically wearing these braids, right? She looks beautiful, but and I'm not, this is not in any way a support or a knock against natural hair, but what I am saying to you, or protective style, what I am saying to you is that Jasmine Crockett is Black, Hakeem Jeffries is Black, and neither one of them are leaning out of that Blackness. Hakeem Jeffries' Blackness is different than Jasmine's, obviously, but none of them are leaning out. And what we've seen historically in the Democratic Party is that Black people have tried to sanitize themselves in many ways to fit inside of the party structure in a way that we seeing this set of leadership not do that.
Well, I mean, truth be told, I think braids were not even considered proper etiquette for a time. I mean, there was a strict dress code just like women. I forgot when women were starting to wear pantsuits because and as well, I think it was the 90s when there was a pushback, and then there was a wearing of tennis shoes, because it was like, as a woman in heels, it's hard to run from my chambers to go vote. So I need, something that gets me there. So there are a lot of people don't know that, the Congress, and there are, of course, there are a lot of people who say that you should have a certain decorum of how you look, so on and so forth, with Congress. But the question goes based on who's aesthetic, right? And so this is what we saw in this conversation between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jasmine Crockett, because clearly her aesthetic is considered acceptable in the chambers than, a Jasmine Crockett. And so, however, though, this bold rejection of Republican bullying is being presented through the very thing that makes a lot of people uneasy. It is a young, articulate, educated, fearless Black woman. And what, for me, this is, Jasmine Crockett is a continuum of Black women who have come through Congress and have taken these very hard, bold positions and have been knocked down for being, too loud or, being picked apart. My hope is that in moving forward, that the Crockett's of the world and, maybe Bush and the Presley get the support that they need in order to maintain their position, but also their positions in there also translate to bills being passed. And it's not just some figurehead like, oh shit, here come Crockett. We know she's gonna say something, right? But how is this moving the legislation forward that we need?
Oh, I think that, let's just get into it. This is the least productive Congress we've seen ever, right? They've only passed 23 bills, right? And so in many ways, that is what Crockett's point is. Her political theater, or her use of it, is to say, if you want to make this a clown show, then let's go clown. But if you want to make this about substantively having a discussion, I can do that too. But it's like Black folks used to say, I'm gonna whoop you where you did it. I'm gonna get you where you. That has not been the tenor or the tone. And I believe that this political theater that Jasmine's partaking in would not then be as effective or even be a tool that she used had they actually passed some legislation. The problem is they've only passed 23 bills. I mean, we don't even have a budget. We how many continuous resolutions have we are? That's for all the people in the world. That just basically means it's a CR, and that basically means that whatever budget we had the previous year, we're just going to continue with that budget until we can get to some level of agreement. And why is that a problem? Why is getting a budget a problem over the finish line? Why? Because another Black woman is running the Office of Management and Budget, and her name is Shalonda Young. Right? Shalonda, okay? There's another Black woman who is running the money. And what does that mean? The Congress every day of the week can come and say that we're going to give X number of dollars here, X number of dollars here, X number of dollars here. But this Black woman in the Office of Management and Budget then decides how the regulation is read and what that money goes towards and how it goes towards it, all of those things. So even the not passing of a budget is in many ways deeply rooted in what Jasmine Jasmine Crockett represents. She represents a change. She represents the understanding and the idea that Black people, but particularly Black women, are no longer going to be silenced. And we have no problem holding your feet to the fire because we haven't been in these seats long enough to be comfortable. If we think about it, if we think about how many Black women have been inside of the United States Senate, if Angela Also Brooks wins, that'll be the third one. And the country is what, 250 something years old? Like, Black women haven't been in the seats long enough to be comfortable, so losing them don't mean the same things to us. And so that is, to me, I guess, the pushback. Or when folks say, oh, it's just political theater, and oh, Jasmine Crockett's political theater doesn't mean anything, it means a lot. Because Jasmine showed in her rebuke and how she did what she did, I know the rules. I know how to play this game. Bring me some legislation to vote on. Let's debate the issues, right? That's how this back and forth started. Hey, Marjorie Greene, do you remember why we're even here? Because clearly you can't even remember why we're here, right? And that, to me, is the continuous thread, is that we have always been twice exceptional. And Jasmine is showing, not only am I twice exceptional, I'm going to do it blackety black, 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 and you just going to have to take it.
But she also represents this core of Black women voters, right? Who are coming in, I gotta say it, right, during this Barack Obama era and becoming activated and politically active and thinking about and thinking through what they want this country to be and what it looks like. And so what she does is that she moves from being a voter to actually being a representative and bringing critical issues, or at least a voice in discussing the critical issues of how we're going to move this nation forward. And so I think that also is an unease for a lot of folk, because they talked about these Black women voters, right? But now you're seeing the representative of what these Black women voters are looking like, right? So, right, at the same time, you had these white women voters voting for Trump. And this is where the Marjorie Taylor Greenes come in. And they're coming up against, like, this is what we're seeing. We are also seeing, it's so funny when you said Shalanda, Hakeem, Ayana, we are also seeing this shift of cultural politics and identity that when I was growing up, I'll be 49 next, 2 months, right? I'm seeing a shift of growing up and people ridiculing me for, having a name, a Bantu name, or people had, Arab names or African names. Now then ascend or be in positions of power, and have to be called by their fullest name, not their fullest name, right? And have the chops, right? Have the chops to do so, and can code switch. And what Crockett is showing, code switch on the congressional floor and not flinch, all right? Or maybe bet her eyelashes. So these are also important cultural identity politics, because as a professor and just like as a media person, you even see how this filters out into the regular conversation. There have been so many remixes of the Crockett moment, in terms.
Well, let me also say, I think she also represents, right? So if we're talking about this spectrum of black woman, right? We got Shalanda, we got Kentanji, we got Jasmine. I mean, when we start thinking about, right, even if we think about Linda Greenfield, right, who's the representative of the United States to the United Nations, right? If we start thinking about even just the spectrum of Black women that are in these leadership positions, we're also then seeing, we are also seeing right before our eyes the idea that Black women are not a monolith, right? And I think that's the biggest thing that Jasmine presents. I can guarantee you that Linda Greenfield to Shalanda to Kentanji, that everybody agreed with what Jasmine did. And I think that's the other problem, is that although we as Black women may sit on different spots of this spectrum, the likelihood of these Black women in leadership outing or speaking against her publicly, even if they privately disagree with how she handled it, is almost not, I mean, it's almost unheard of. How many other Black women leaders have you heard in many ways chide Jasmine for what she's done? I don't know if historically that would have been the case, right? So we are not only seeing the Black female monolith on full display in leadership positions, we're also seeing in many ways a public solidarity that hasn't always been the case when we're talking ideological politics either.
Right, and to the millennials and the Gen Zs, that means they stayed on code, right? They stayed on code. But I think the reason being is Black women in positions of power have taken so many hits and have taken so much heat that sometimes you just got to let that pit bull in your corner be the full pit bull that they need to be. And the silence means, I told your ass, stop fucking with us. And that's basically what it is. And now you see why. And now, from now on, every time you try to come for us like that, the response will be on this level or harder. And this is what is just going to have to happen, because this is what we call course correction.
This is course correction because it was true, right? What Marjorie Greene Taylor said was untrue. What Jasmine Crockett said about Marjorie Greene Taylor was true, right? And I think that's right. And the reason I'm saying that is because although it's funny and it's hilarious, I mean, when Jamie Raskin, the chairman of the committee, didn't know what was going on, he was like, what? What? Right? Jamie Raskin, the vice chair who's sitting right next to him, was like, oh, got your ass. Like, so I say this also because I think what's important here when it comes to the truth and not the truth is, we understand that we know how to plate the truth in such a provocative way that forces you to have to deal with it, right? The commentary about her eyelashes to me was so insulting or was so denigrating, because it was a rebuke against Black beauty aesthetic. It was a rebuke against the a new Black beauty norm, right? I mean, if y'all, I got my, hey, I got my eyelashes done particularly for this morning. I mean, they got done this morning for so that I could express in many ways that it has become a Black beauty aesthetic to get your eyelashes done a particular way, or to get your hair. Those are a part of the Black beauty aesthetic. And the attack on the Black beauty aesthetic, while you participate in your own set of aesthetic, right, by bleaching your hair as blonde as possible with the blackest roots ever, right, is a part of your beauty aesthetic that I'm now going to then attack in the same way. And I think that is also important, because never would it be said that Marjorie Greene Taylor is inappropriately dressed or presenting an aesthetic that is not palatable in the same way it'd be said about Jasmine Crockett, right? And I think that to me is also why it's important, because Marjorie went after a Black beauty aesthetic to then denote that the Black beauty aesthetic then takes away from acumen, right? Whereas Jasmine Crockett showed in the use of attacking a white beauty norm to say that the attack of this white beauty norm has nothing to do with how I think of what I think of your intellect, right? It has everything to do with breaking the rules about how we are not supposed to engage in personalities, right? And I think that to me is that little sliver is being lost, because she went from one beauty aesthetic to another beauty aesthetic that was in many ways taking an untruth to then attack a truth.
Jasmine was going for that. Come on now. I mean, she wrapped it in this way, but she went what America saw was the dozens. They saw the dozens in real time. So this is the thing. The thing
Well,
is
explain. Wait a minute. Now, Kaia, you're gonna have to explain for some of your listeners that don't know what the dozens are. Explain what the dozens are.
So the dozens, right? Snapping the dozens is something that's in African American culture where you basically make these jokes about each other, but they're very under the belt. They could be very under the belt, and it's improvisational. So you've got to have this like very skilled and creative mind in order to come back, because we do believe. Sorry, Michelle. They go low. See me in the crust of hell in these dozens, right? She was about to talk about that woman's mama in a minute, but the dozens is a historical
But I'm glad you
African
brought up
American.
Michelle. I'm glad you brought up Michelle because I think that people have misread even the when they go low, we go high.
Yeah.
I think people have misread that because Michelle was saying that publicly to remind herself. Because we're talking about a girl from the south side of Chicago who had to constantly remind herself that this has to be my mantra while I sit next to the most powerful man in the world. Because this is not my natural inclination. My natural inclination is to get low to the crust of the earth. And so I have to say this, not have to say this, but this has become my mantra to remind myself that I sit next to the most powerful man in the world, not black man, not white man, not yellow man, not red man, but most powerful man in the free world. And because I sit next to him, I have to remember that when they go low, I can't go low. I gotta go high.
But you see, and I 100% agree, but what happened with that line, it becomes the expectation of black women. You know what I'm saying? Not in the black world, but in the general world. Like, oh my gosh, you know, Michelle Obama, she's such a lady of grace and everything. Like, and becomes the standard or the expectation. Now, what Crockett does is that it reminds us what Crockett does. Well, she reminds us of a lot of stuff. Is that not reminds us, but I think what she says very, very loudly and clear is that no longer are the days that Republicans can use these type of tactics to distract us from what the real issues are. And not only am I going to ding your ass on sight, but I'm going to put you back on what we need to be talking about, right? Which is a black woman thing. A black woman will be cooking and cooking. Something happened. Correct the kid. Yeah, there you go. And go right back to cooking. We gonna cook this, and
my sister is the best one at this. My sister is the best. The working from home phase, y'all. When my sister Ashley would get to muting that phone and going off and unmuting it, I have never seen. I said, what is this? Some ventriloquist? Like, what are you? This is a whole nother level. Hello, good evening. I'm like, wait a minute here. So, and I again, but that's why I think, to your very point, that's why when Michelle came out wearing big curly hair and gold boots and all of that, everybody's like, right? The real black woman is back. Oh gosh, right? And so I think that Michelle, when she was talking again, it was double speak, right? It was to black people, y'all know what I really want to do. And y'all also know what I gotta say. But as soon as I get out of this monkey suit, right, as we would say of a right, then the real Michelle or the real Slim Shady's gonna stand up, right? And what I think that Michelle then allows for in many ways, it allows for a Jasmine, right? Because it's not the idea. When Michelle comes along, the question is, can it be done? Right? Now that Michelle has done it, it's not a question of can it be done, it's about will it be done? And what Jasmine Crockett showed us is that it will not. It will not when it's Jasmine Crockett.
And I think we could, we can break down this until the cows come home. And for those who are listening, this is actually the very sanitized version of us talking about this incident. But I want to say that the Democrats really needed this win. This was a win for Democrats. It had they really needed this. This was a knockout punch for Marjorie. She stung like a butterfly. What is it? Sting like a butterfly. Is that
Yeah.
what it is? And
you talking about Muhammad?
Yeah, but yeah, no, she stung her and then she floated. What is it? Sting like a butterfly? No, float. She floated like a butterfly and she stung like a bee. Yeah. So, so this was a definite win. And my thing is that energy needs to be harnessed and it needs to be carried in these elections. And I really do hope that.
But the problem though is that the only person to really carry them is the vice president, who they don't want to really be black. I mean, so I hear you. I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. I mean, to this very point, right? Plies, has become in some ways this comedic kind of political figure on Instagram. And his whole thing is, Joe learned how to brag, right? Learn how to brag. Like, you've done a whole lot. Learn how to brag. Well, the only person that can really effectively brag the right way that's going to resonate is her, and they don't really want her to be black. So the question I really have is that we're into the summer, right? We're on the precipice of the weekend that opens up the summer with Memorial Day, right? We know that now we're going to start seeing conventions and political ads. Then the question is, where on the bench do you get other Jasmines, right? Where do you get other Jasmines? Because it's not going to be Kamala. It's damn sure can't be Joe, right? So the question really is that where do you find your polite, I know the rules, code switch apparent street brawlers, right, to really get out there on this campaign trail for you? And the problem that I have is that you're going to have a Jasmine, but you're going to have in many ways a white version of a Jasmine as well. And the question really remains, where are those figures?
They're probably taking a course right now with Jasmine. That's where they're in a room somewhere, like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? Like, first of all, you know what I mean? So that's what it is. But I really do. I mean, of course, we don't, on the other side of it is going to look maybe radically different. I don't know, whatever, but we'll see. However, I do believe that this was such a significant and salient moment. I don't, that does have consequences. Or it's gonna, what do I want to say? It has reverberated on the Hill, and I'm really interested to see how that plays out. One of the things that, for those who say that they support Black women or more Black women as representatives, stand behind Jasmine as much as possible. She is going to definitely need it, because trust, the ops are already locked and loaded on her.
Absolutely.
Let's embark on the Ark Republic to hear current news that's published. More than gossip and chatter, covering current affairs that matter. We talk issues with professional views, all keeping you in queue. We wanted a higher vibe for these days and times, to free the voices and minds, reporting the sign of the times, so all can build. Let's shine, yeah.